Welcome and thank you for tuning in to this episode of Evidently You're Unaware. I am Andrea, your host, also known as the Successful Diva. Evidently You're Unaware is a platform designed and dedicated to shining light upon a variety of issues, topics, circumstances, and people who influence our lives. The information being presented is designed to bring relevant and thought provoking conversations into not only your peripheral view, but also your central vision so that you gain a greater understanding on what decisions can be made, how to make those decisions, and in some cases, how to make those decisions on behalf of others. So, without further ado, let's get smarter. The Constitution and its amendments, due process, the Fifth Amendment, many other terms such as these, you've heard them. These phrases and more have garnered much attention since January 2025, and in some cases, more of lately. Legal, social, or ethical entitlements that individuals or groups hold are commonly known as rights. Fundamental freedoms or protections recognized by society appear to be more than delegate than once known. And in some cases, these fundamental freedoms seem to be in peril. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE, versus due process is what's been at the focus of late. Regardless of their status, immigrants in the United States have certain rights guaranteed under the Constitution and federal laws. What are some of these rights? Due process, equal protection, and freedom from discrimination based on race, national origin, and other protected characteristics. Historically, presidential administrations have had their share of issues handling illegal immigration and deportation of those who break the law. But no matter the administration, due process was and is a legal right. Deportation appears to no longer be a matter of concern for a select group of people. And today, I am grateful to have here with me in the studio someone who can shed light on what action steps can be taken should ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Officer, appear at your school, at your church, at your home, and in some cases, that you may be approached right on the street. So I am excited to welcome with me Nanci Palacios, who is the organizing director for Faith in Florida. Welcome, Nanci, to Evidently You're Unaware.
Thank you so much, Andrea, for hosting this space and inviting me to be here with you.
You're most welcome. I have certainly been wanting to have my viewers have an opportunity to hear from you. I had the opportunity to do so a month or so ago, and I was impressed. And hence, here we are. I wanted to bring that information, at least in part, forward again. So I will dive right in. Historically, no administration has demonstrated the level of lawlessness, if you will, like the 45th and now 47th president. So to provide viewers with just some kind of context, what has normally been, I guess I should say, what should we normally see when it comes to immigrants and their rights, as well as when they are applying for visas and those types of things and living here in the United States?
Yes. So for many years, before many of our time, there has always been a process in the United States to allow for immigrant families, lawfully or not, in the United States, to be able to apply for a series of different forms of relief. that is asylum, that being petitioned by a family, immediate family member who may be a U.S. citizen or a green card holder through work. And that, I think, over the last couple of years has become more of a threat. And definitely in the last couple of months, many families who maybe were entering through the proper inspection as they had been told to get in line and actually apply and waited their time to be here. Now that has shifted, and many people who were here legally with a work permit, with the process underway, or who is waiting for an actual approval of a petition, are actually at fear of also being sent back to their country and not actually being able to complete their process.
Okay. All right. That is, yeah, that's kind of, what we normally would see, and how it should flow. It, how it should just literally move its way through the process. And so we now know, and it's common knowledge, that there have been some mistakes by this administration. And I would say maybe more mistakes than not. But let's educate in this space. What are the rights? What can someone who has been approached, or who has, someone who sees them at their door, what can they do and how should they respond?
Yes. So the following information that I'll share is really for anyone who is listening to us today. And this is anyone with or without status. These rights apply to everyone in the United States, afforded through the Constitution, to make sure that people are protected whenever they're here, and that no one can actually take advantage or violate those rights that they have. The first one being that if someone is approached, they're not supposed to be racially profiled. No one should be asked what country they are from simply because of how they look. I'm going to share how it's supposed to be, and maybe later on I'll share a little bit of what we're hearing in the community. But anyone who approaches you, if it's law enforcement, ICE, CBP, which is Border Patrol, in the state of Florida specifically, we are considered a border state because we are within 100 miles of the water. And so ICE, CBP is able to go up and down our streets because of that reasoning. And so they can ask you for your status. It can't be done based on how you look. You, as a person being asked, are not required to answer. You have the right to remain silent. You are protected by your Fifth Amendment right. Whether you are a U.S. citizen, whether you're a green card holder, whether you have TPS, DACA, or you're here without a status, or in the process of adjusting your status, you have that right afforded to you. You also have the right under the Fifth Amendment to remain silent. You have the right to be able to also ask to be able to request an attorney. Now, anything that has to do with immigration, the law doesn't give you an attorney, but you're more than in your right to be able to request or hire an attorney, an immigration attorney, to represent you, and to state that whenever someone approaches you about your status and saying that you don't want to answer any questions and want to remain silent, and have an attorney present. And then finally, the other really important piece to note is that they can't search your property. They can't search your car. They can't search your home without a warrant. So if you are at home, if there is that someone shows up to your home saying that they are ICE, that they are, enforcing the immigration laws of the country, you don't necessarily have to open the door until you know who it is, and not let them in if they don't have a warrant. And I think many times what we have seen is that families get intimidated. They open the door. There's authority, and/or they're presented with a document that is not an actual warrant signed by a judge. And many times the families in the community are taken as a result of it.
Wow. I recall, and please correct me anywhere in this statement where I might be off or in error, but I recall in the presentation that I sat through, there should be a legal signature. It's kind of some things that someone should look for should an officer present said warrant on a piece of paper. Can you review just those things that should stand out if it's a legitimate warrant?
Absolutely. So it is a warrant has to be issued by a court. And so you should be looking for somewhere in the top of the warrant. It should have what court it's coming from. It should have the specific name of the person that they are looking for. It should be spelled correctly. It should have the correct address of where they are trying to serve that warrant. So if you live in 123 Cherry Lane and the address says 456 Cherry Lane, then it's not the correct address. If your name is misspelled, then it's not the correct form, and they actually have to go back and correct it before they can serve that warrant. And then also it has to indicate which parts of the home or which parts of the property they have been authorized to serve that warrant to. Is it the entire house? Is it a particular room? Is it a particular place in a congregation, for example? So that's really important. And then the other thing is it has to be signed by a judge. All the way at the bottom of the first page of the warrant, it'll have a signature of the judge, and it'll say judge and then the name, and it should have the signature.
Got it.
Most of the time, these warrants are several pages, and they have a date of how long it is valid for, usually about 16 days. So they have that length of time to serve the warrant. And so if at any time that is out of term, they have to go back. ICE, whoever is serving that law enforcement agency is serving that warrant has to go back and get an updated one.
Got it. Gosh, it seems like, I guess I was processing it again as you're saying it. And I always think, okay, so they get this paper, they're at the door, getting nervous. I can see how that would happen, because you've got to kind of almost do a checkbox really quick to go through, my name, the address, the judge's, where they're supposed to search. Is that realistic? Do you find that, or have you heard, I guess I should say, are there those in the community that have had the opportunity to execute it all the way through as such?
We have a lot of the times part of why folks' rights are violated is because they are not taught about them to begin with. And we try to have several conversations with people in the community. We're not trying to obstruct and teaching people to obstruct the law, but rather know how to stand in their rights and defend the rights that they have been given regardless of status. This once again applies to everybody, not just people who may be here without any status. I think also it's important to note that part of the thing that folks need to understand is that you don't open the door and let people come in and give you that, because once you've opened the door, you've actually given them a green light, and you don't necessarily have to enforce asking for a warrant. So part of what we teach people is actually showing a warrant through the window, sliding it through the door. And many organizations are recommending the same thing. Attorneys have recommended the same thing. And I think it's important because you don't want to make sure that anyone's violating your space and violating your rights by, entering without a warrant.
Yeah. Good stuff. Oh, that's good. It's almost as mind intriguing to me as the first time I heard you say it. And this is the second time I've heard you say that. And I always am certainly wanting to help people be aware. I mean, because at some point, it may not be me, but I may know of someone who, kind of needs to know. So it's good for each of us as fellow citizens, Americans. We need to understand what can and can't occur and what should and shouldn't happen. And if we can articulate that to a friend or to our fellow coworker or, anyone, I think that it will help obviously improve the process of not being mistakenly disappeared off of the streets or out of, the country, if you will. So what resources does Faith in Florida have for residents? Just anything where they can tag into the information or any kind of upcoming. I know I went to an actual event, and I know there's some sacred guardrails around doing certain things. So share what you can, and let's make sure that we have a place where people can follow up from here with what they may have further questions on.
Sure. So part of what we're doing is hosting community educational spaces for everyone, because now, we talked a lot about how this applies potentially to people who may be here not fully citizens or not in the process of having a green card yet. But we have also seen how people who are citizens or who have green cards are also being impacted, or their family may be impacted. So this really applies to everybody. And while we're talking about it from a context of immigration, this applies as if a law enforcement shows up and you are a U.S. citizen and they try to enter your home. So part of the community education is just making sure that people have the right information. Once again, this isn't about obstructing the law. And if they have gone through the proper channels to obtain the documentation needed to serve the warrants, then, they're going to be able to do their job. And so part of what Faith in Florida is just doing is making sure that every community who wants the information in any form can receive it. So we're able to do community education in your churches and your community. If there are any centers that you are in a lot of communication with people in your community, you're going to be able to contact us at info@faithinflorida.org. So that way you are able to request a Know Your Rights training or a community education training, and just make sure that you and your community have the information that's needed. We are having them in different places now. We are not promoting the specific addresses, mostly because the folks that are requesting them are asking us not to publicize them. There's a lot of fear around people being there who may be,
understandable.
But if you want a training, a community conversation around this, just talk about what is happening to you or the community around you, please contact us at info@faithinflorida.org, and we can make sure to schedule that with you.
Awesome. And last but not least, just how can persons who are interested, organizations, individual churches, I'm familiar with Faith in Florida, with meetings, etc., but how can those who are wanting to help spread the causes and the nonpartisan information that is available through Faith, how do others get involved?
Yes. So once again, by contacting us through info@faithinflorida.org. You can also visit our website and see the work that we have done and continue to do throughout the different parts of the state. Depending on where you're at, we also have an organizer in your respective region. So if you do contact us, depending on the area that you're in, you will be contacted with the organizer that is there to make sure that they respond and meet with you either virtually or in person. So that way we can assess what are the particular needs that you or your community may have. Immigration is one of the topics that we work closely on, but we also do a lot of work around housing, around community education, public safety, many different things. So if there is an issue that is happening in your community, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We don't decide what issues we work in. We lean strongly on the communities and especially the faith community to uplift those issues. And we center people in everything that we do throughout the state.
Awesome. Well, Nanci, I will say this once again. Thank you for being a part of this episode. This information is so relevant. It's so right now. And it's obviously those topics that impact the people who reside, the people who work here, sleep here, eat here, children go to school here. It's always something that Faith in Florida has. We were talking before we went on about the multiple balls that are juggling in the air with Faith in Florida. And it's one of those things that I've always admired, even before I became affiliated and just knowing more about Faith in Florida. But definitely for those who have listened, tune in, but certainly plug in and gain an understanding of what more can be done, because there is always something to do. on behalf of the community. And we are the community. It's not a matter of what community is happening and doing what. We all are a community. So I am going to ask, can I reserve the right to somewhere down the road, maybe updates as things progress, to bring you back on board, maybe for some other update on things. Is that okay?
Absolutely. I look forward to that. And I want to just remind everyone, if I may, that you are able to be advocates for those folks in your community, for the things that are not being done in your community. You are able to reach out to your elected officials and let them know how you feel around the changes that need to happen so that our neighbors, our community partners, people in our families, in our churches are protected, and that they can remain here with their families. Many of them have been here 20, 30 plus years. And if they were afforded the ability to be able to adjust their status, they would. Right. Unfortunately, our immigration laws have not been updated in many, many years. And that is what we're seeing now is a result of the inaction that has taken place. And so my hope is that together we can become advocates for each other.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nanci. And again, all of this is well received, and I appreciate all and applaud all that you and Faith in Florida are doing throughout the state of Florida.
Thank you. Thank you for lifting up this important information to others.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Evidently You're Unaware. Remember, it is no longer safe or acceptable to live in ignorance. The information that has been presented is designed to increase your awareness and your consciousness of the impact that decisions can have on your life and the lives of others. Rights are the foundation of a just and equitable society, providing individuals and groups with the freedom to act, protection from harm, and the opportunity to prosper. Once a country and some of its members of the judicial, legislative, and executive branches no longer accept or want to grant legal, social, ethical, and human rights to fellow citizens, well, as Americans, we could be well on our way to full exposure to what citizens in other authoritarian countries experience every day in their lives. Unless we adhere to the words as stated succinctly by the mother of Emmett Till, Mamie Till Mobley. She once stated, when anything happens to any one of us anywhere in the world, it had better be the business of us all. Thank you once again. Don't forget to comment or inbox me at andrea@successfuldiva.info, or you can send me an email at andrea@strategicblueprint.info. Follow me on Blue Sky at thesuccessfuldiva.bsky.social. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Evidently You're Unaware.
Evidently, You're Unaware is a platform dedicated to shining light upon various issues, topics, circumstances, and people who influence our lives. The information provided should not be considered advice for legal, health, investments, or the endorsement of an individual or group. Neither the host nor the guest of Evidently You're Unaware is responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from using the information shared within this podcast. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Evidently, You're Unaware.